Planet Dolan.
From getting away with trying to kill a friend to burning Pokemon cards because they're demonic, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from Reddit about the messed up things our parents did. I'm Cookie, and today I'll be your narrator. This story was submitted by M3PTT. Back when Hellbent's father was a teenager, he went to a boarding school. One night, he woke up and, for some reason, felt compelled to murder his roommate who was also his friend. So, he grabbed a knife and stabbed his friend over 30 times. His friend didn't die, but was paralyzed from the neck down. Hellbent's father got away with it because the lawyers his parents hired got him off by convincing the jury that it's because he was having night terrors. Years later, his father admitted to Hellbent that he knew full well what he had done that night. This story was submitted by Eulim. As a kid, Soup loved playing with his Pokemon cards. Whenever he could, he would get together with his friends and play. However, his overly religious mother found out about them and told Soup that those cards were demonic and against God. Wanting to get rid of them, his mother got all of his Pokemon cards together and threw them in a wheelbarrow. While Soup stood there crying, his mother lit a match and burned all of his cards. Even though he's an adult now, he believes that what his mother did really fucked up his sense of humor. This story was submitted by Wolves Have No Kings. One day, when Wolfgang was 6 years old, he watched as his mother climbed into her car and drove off. He asked his father where she was going. He answered, "She's sick of you. She's leaving forever and you will never see her again." At that, Wolfgang started to cry and scream for her to come back. He even tried to run after her car, but his father grabbed him. His father had to hang on to a distressed Wolfgang as he tried to break free. His father laughed the whole time, eventually telling his crying and screaming son that his mother was only going to the bank. That's a bit cruel. This story was submitted by Kagi90. Princess Proton was 14 when her and her family went on a 10-day cruise. On the second day, they were informed that a cousin, who Princess Proton was very close to, had passed away. Devastated, she wanted to get off the ship at their next port and go home, but her parents refused, saying they spent too much money on the cruise and weren't going to let it go to waste. Princess Proton begged them to send only her home, but they wouldn't even do that. Throughout the rest of the cruise, she fought with them constantly, not enjoying a single minute of the trip. After a while, her parents had the nerve to call her ungrateful and practically forced her to go out and have fun, even though all she felt like doing was mourning the loss of her cousin. The worst part was that she couldn't even attend her cousin's funeral because it would be held while they were on the cruise. Her aunt and uncle even offered her mother full compensation for the cost of the trip. Instead, her mother just said that they wanted to stay on the cruise to cheer up and enjoy themselves. 10 years later, Princess Proton still hasn't forgiven her parents for their behavior, and likely never will, despite them admitting that they were wrong and apologizing to her multiple times. This story was submitted by Kenji Mamoru. When he was in the 1st grade, Sid was able to read at a 4th grade level. He really enjoyed reading books that were higher than the 1st grade level. However, his teacher and his mother thought that him reading more advanced books would upset the other kids in class. So he was forced to read lower level books. After their decision, he began to think that reading was incredibly boring and even a little difficult at times. During class, whenever they had read-alongs, Sid would get so bored at the slow reading of his classmates that he would only read what he needed to over and over. Even today, he feels that reading is a chore and no longer fun. All that was thanks to Sid's mother and teacher. This story was submitted by yeah. Chalky was 10 when his mother decided that he needed to get braces. Finding a dentist for him was hard for her, until she settled on a cranky old man. When they arrived at his office, the dentist strapped Chalky to a chair with leather straps and kept squeezing fluid into his eyes. Before getting braces, he needed to have some teeth taken out. Every time Chalky flinched, the man slapped him on the head and called him a wuss. To this day, he doesn't know what the hell his mother was thinking, choosing a dentist like that. This story was submitted by Maura Moonmo. Mimi would always text her friend, and her father would always insist on knowing what they were talking about. She tried to explain that her friend had depression and that their conversations were private out of respect. Her father didn't listen and took her phone away. After that, he would always take Mimi's phone away and go through her messages. In addition to always taking her phone and going through it, her father also took the bedroom door off the hinges. His reasoning was if Mimi or her brother wanted to sit in their bedrooms, they must be hiding something. There was absolutely no privacy in Mimi's household. He also took away his brother's phone, despite him being 18 years old, hence an adult. The reason? Her brother was eating a bag of chips in his room. Mimi loves her father, but thinks he can be utterly ridiculous sometimes. This story was submitted by Sullen Apple 89. When Pecan was having trouble with her finances, her parents helped her out in a time of need. She never asked for their help, but deeply appreciated it. One day, she was surprised when her parents suddenly asked her for money from her tax refund, which was $1,100. They wanted her to reimburse them for the help they gave her that she never asked for. In the end, they took $300 from her brother's tax return and a big chunk from hers. Instead of using the money for bills or something else that's important, they used it to buy a toy. Wow. This story was submitted by Xiao Dine. Ghost Host was only a kid when his father started taking him out in his car. He liked riding around in his father's car, but always noticed that he would drive through the parking lot of the community pool during summer. Ghost Host would watch as his father, who was driving slowly, would look in the direction of the outdoor swimming pool. Once he became a teenager, Ghost Host realized that his father drove slowly through the parking lot just to check out all of the girls at the pool. That was also when he realized that he had a creepy father. This story was submitted by Fuck Your Face Fucker. When James Shuck was 4 years old, he developed an abscess on his leg after getting a vaccination. His mother had his grandparents hold him down in their kitchen while she heated up a sewing needle on the stove's burner. James Shuck squirmed under the grip of his grandparents as his mother lanced the abscess. Several years later, he still remembers his grandfather apologizing to him after telling him to bite down on a rolled-up kitchen towel. While he loves his mother to death, he still doesn't know why she didn't just take him to the hospital, which was only a half a mile away from their home. This is Cookie, signing off. Goodbye!